TikTokers who are credit card broke. Let's hit it.
Okay, I wanted to answer this question about how I got into $15,000 worth of credit card debt because I've been getting it a lot. First is I had zero financial literacy at all. My family never talked about money. I come from a super poor single mom family, and money just wasn't ever talked about because we had none of it. And I never took any classes in high school that taught you about finances. I don't even know if there were any. The next is that I always considered my available credit as money that I could spend or money that I had. I distinctly remember buying like a laptop and furniture because I was like, oh, I don't have the money on my debit card, but I have it on my credit card so I can spend it. Which looking back is ridiculous, but back then it felt like free money. I always only paid the minimum payments on my credit cards. Whether it was like $100 or $25, I was like, okay, as long as I do that, I'm fine. When it really clicked for me was when my financial advisor told me that if I continued paying $150 on each card, it would take me 9 years and $17,000 worth of pure interest to pay it off. It would cost me $17,000. But if I increased my payments to $350 and $450, it would take me 1 year and it would only cost me $3,000 in interest, which is so much of a difference. Another is that I always increased my credit card limits when I was offered it. So I'd increase the limit, spend all the way up until that new limit, and then I just maxed out more money. And the last one is I just swiped carelessly. I never cared what I spent it on. I just always spent money on it because to me it was just money that I had, even though it was not money I had. I can't believe.
Okay, I'm gonna stop her there. Okay, she makes a bunch of points that I would like to discuss with you guys. All right, first off, for those who are new to this channel, I'm 57, and I've had my history of 2 bankruptcies. One of them for credit cards when I was in my very early 20s, and the other one for an auto repossession in my early 30s. Almost, 10 years apart, right? That's the amount of time you have to wait before you can file one bankruptcy to the other. So as far as dealing with my credit card bankruptcy, she says part of her $15,000 worth of credit card debt is the fact that her family did not teach her financial literacy. She says it's because her mother was poor. Now, I got to be honest. I don't think it really matters if your parents are wealthy or poor. To be really honest, okay? I didn't come from a poor family, far from it, and I was not taught financial literacy. I wasn't taught anything beyond, save up your change and you can buy something that you want. Or during the 80s, when everybody wrote, checks, here's how you balance a checkbook. That was the most I ever had. I never was taught credit cards. And at first, I couldn't figure out why I had not been taught credit card debt. But let's think about the history of credit cards, okay? If you think about the history of credit cards, when my parents were growing up, okay, my parents are now in their 80s, and my mom and stepfather have passed away. So you got to think in terms of generation here. They weren't raised on credit cards like we use credit cards today. Okay, so part of me realizes that perhaps part of the reason my parents never taught me how to use a credit card was they weren't raised on it. My grandmother was certainly not raised on it. In fact, I'm going to make a notation on it here right now. Hold on just a second while I find the time marker. There's my time marker, okay, because I make notes as I write this stuff down, okay. I'm going to attach here. I did a PBS documentary commentary, very in-depth, okay, to the history of credit cards. I'm going to attach it at the end of this because when we think about the history of credit cards, I believe that with my generation, again, I'm 57, the reason my parents and even grandparents never discussed credit cards with me is credit cards weren't used back then like they're used now. Now we use credit cards for everything from the smallest coffee purchase, okay, up to putting part of your car on it. But the history of credit cards is they weren't used like that. But the millennials and even Gen X, my generation, and certainly, millennials and Gen Z and Alpha, that's still in, K through 12 school, okay, these generations are using credit cards just like we used to use checkbooks. So the financial literacy part that she discusses, I can't blame solely on the fact that her mother was raised poor. Okay. Now she is young, so her parents would be significantly younger than my parents would be. Okay, because I'm probably old enough to be her parent. But if you just think about that, I can't just blame it completely because her mom was poor. Although poverty certainly does not help towards establishing a solid, financial history. Although look at me, 2 bankruptcies, and I had parents who were never laid off, never unemployed. So, I guess that kind of broke the rules on that. She also talks about how high school taught her no financial management classes. And guess what? They didn't teach it to me either. I do not recall any financial management classes. My conspiracy theory is, and I'm not much of a, and I'm really not a conspiracy theorist, but if I were going to be, okay? My conspiracy theory is that the high schools are paid not to teach financial classes so the colleges can make more money through student loan debt. Because imagine how the world would be different. Imagine how students would treat student loans if they came out of college actually understanding not only credit card terminology, interest on the interest, okay, late payments, over fees, yada yada. Imagine if students also came out understanding how student loan borrowing works, how income-based payments can mess you up, can really mess you up. And then who would the colleges have to pay for their, buildings and all of that? Imagine if a student actually came out and said, yes, I understand how credit cards work. I understand how student loans work. And I realize this school is too much money, or I realize I shouldn't be going to college right now, whatever. Financial literacy, she didn't sleep through any courses. They offered no courses. And any courses that they offered her were possibly just a very small snippet of what a senior coming out of high school really needs to know. Financial literacy is typically taught, in my opinion, either through the School of Hard Knocks after you've graduated and you did not go to college, or you go to college and you wind up with a debt that you cannot pay off. And then all of a sudden someone explains to you interest on the interest and income-based payments and why they don't work because it doesn't reach into the principal. Okay, so she didn't miss anything on that. She wasn't being careless. They did not offer classes like that. I can pretty much guarantee it. Let's see. Available credit. She said she looked at it as free money. Yes, I did too. I was on the University of Oregon campus. I was in my early 20s. And when, of course, it's the classic, nothing's changed. Family, young people, nothing has changed. Those credit card companies show up on your campus, and there's a reason why. Because they know you have currently no debt. All right. They also know that if they can get you in debt with them when you're young, you will be their future paying customers. And they also know that you have parents, and a lot of parents don't want to see their children in debt. So what will the parents do with the debt that the kids racked up on their credit card during college? Many parents will pay it off. Okay. There's a reason they give you a free t-shirt, a free, ping pong set, free water jug, whatever. All right, on a college campus. What cost them, 50 cents to hand you for you to give over the next 20, 30 years of your life, or at least the next several years until you smarten up and understand how credit card debt works. She also talks about always making the minimum payment. Now, I've discussed this many times on my channel. One of the first things that, the first traps that I did not understand about credit cards, I never understood that the minimum payment was never designed to pay off the credit card. It wasn't. The minimum payment was designed just to be enough that your credit card could create a higher balance the next cycle. So you start out and you put $500 on it, you make your minimum payment, and then the next cycle you owe $510. You're like, well, wait a minute, I just made my payment. I did not understand minimum payment. I was so financially illiterate on that. I just didn't understand it. And I remember when I got my first credit card, okay, senior in college. And everybody, of course, on the campus had a credit card, and the gold card was the real big thing. There were commercials all over about go get the gold card, and that's just the most wonderful thing. And I remember thinking I was all that because I had the gold card. Although in reality, nobody cared. And it was just a big marketing thing. But my little undeveloped brain, my lack of experience, okay, the lack of being taught either in school or at home, all of those things combined together, I never understood for years. I did not understand that the minimum payment is, in most cases, not designed for you to ever be able to pay off the credit card. So she says here, she talks about her financial advisor and how her financial advisor explained to her, if you only make the minimum, you're going to be paying on this, I think she said, for 9 years with some ridiculous amount of interest. Now then, if you look on the back of your credit card statement today, and well, I do use a credit card, I don't look at the statement because I get it by email. And in fact, I pay my credit card off every 2 weeks to just about every week. All right. But if you look on your credit card statement now, I'm willing to bet that on the back it actually breaks down how much you will pay in interest. Something like if you pay it off now, this is how much you'll pay in interest. If you pay it off in, a year, 5 years, whatever. That was put in there somewhat by force because people started really wising up. I'm going to say this is over 20 years ago, okay, because I think I was still living in Oregon. But it was about the time I moved from Oregon to Florida because I'm in Tampa right now. But just around 20 years ago, the credit card companies started getting a lot of flack for people were wising up as to how credit card debt was just trapping everybody. Forget student loan debt. That's another story, okay? And it was pretty much, I think, don't quote me, okay? But I think they were going to start putting in laws about credit card companies need to start spelling this out for customers. You can't put it in a 3-page fine print, expect me to break it down. So the credit card companies, if I'm correct, I could be wrong, all right? But I do know there was a bunch of stuff with credit card companies going, oh, no, we don't need to change the law. We'll just go ahead and make it easy for customers to understand because, after all, we want to help the customers because we're on the customer side. Credit card companies are never on your side. Everything and anything and everything a credit card company does is to benefit the credit card company. If they excuse you $5 from a bill, they expect that you are going to get down on one knee and say thank you so much because, they waived a $5, whatever. So keep in mind that what you see on the back of your credit card company, that's only there now because lots and lots of people, I think it was about 20 years ago, because I remember kind of when it happened, started complaining about nobody understands how to read these bills. So we now have a very clear layout of what it will take, and you would be absolutely shocked. Let's see, what else you talked about? Oh, increasing the credit card limit. Yes. I've had some people have asked, how is it that people can have their credit card limit increased? Well, pay off your bill every month. If you really want to know how to get your credit card limit increased, be the perfect citizen, pay off your bill every single month without fail, and you can get your credit card limit increased. And she did this. This young TikToker did this. And she's right. It feels like free money because it's like, well, I don't actually have to do anything but hand you a piece of plastic and I can go on that trip, go to that restaurant, buy those clothes. But when you get older, you start to realize it's somebody else's money. It's not your money. That's what you begin to realize. But when we are young and naive, when we're impressionable, or even when we're older and we just haven't learned anything. Yes, even when we're older and we just haven't learned anything. When they say, hey, you've done such a great job of paying on your credit card, let's go ahead and increase your limit. And you go, sure, I'll take the limit increase. And you swear at the beginning that you're going to control it. You swear, hey, you know what? My credit card just went from $1,000 to $2,500, from $2,500 to $5,000. I got it all under control. Yeah. And then before you know it, you're in debt. And you're like, man, I wish I had taken that limit. But because you've made your payments all the time, because you've never been late, and maybe even a few times you were able to pay that whole bill off, they'll raise your limit again. I have enough in credit card debt that almost to the amount that this condo was. I purchased my condo for $100,000 in 2020. I'm used to pointing behind me because I'm not used to these AI screens, so that's why it's not you see me point behind me talking about the condo. Yes, we are pretending we're in a snowy cabin somewhere in the Colorados. Okay, so anyways, those are the main points. Oh, and she talks about swiping carelessly. I told you she had a lot of points, okay, to talk about. Swiping carelessly. How many of you have swiping the credit card without really looking? How many of us have ever gone to the grocery store? You too, family. And you're so used to swiping that card, you don't even look or hear or see what the bill is. You just swipe and walk away. They could have double charged you. They could have forgotten to give you that BOGO deal, buy one get one free, because you're so used to it. I actually have to stop and think. Do you know now you can go to Whole Foods? No news for those of us who probably go to Whole Foods. You don't even have to pull out your freaking credit card anymore. Just stick your hand over the machine and you're out the door. Yeah, just put your palm, just like that. Just put your palm right over the reader at Whole Foods. You're out. So, yeah, we swipe carelessly. And she says she feels dumb talking about this, that like she should have known. She's got a lot of company. But what I say, and I will say it over and over. You don't know what you don't know. And for that part, we have to forgive ourselves for.
I'm even admitting this stuff because looking back, it feels so dumb.
I've put other people's bills on my credit card. Hi, I'm Sia, and I started the year off in $40,000 in debt. So many people asked me how. And there is so many answers to that, and I'll probably do a longer video on my YouTube channel. But basically, I realized I have a hard time saying no, and that is to myself and to others. I've built up really bad habits over the years of helping people when I didn't have the money to, leaning on my credit cards as my safety net so that I can make sure other people in my life are okay, and providing a convenient life to myself because I felt like I deserved it. I also made promises to myself where I would put something on my credit card and promise that I would pay it off within the month, and then I wouldn't because I already spent my cash. It almost felt like,
how many of us have made that type of promise? Oh, I promise I will pay for this trip just as soon as I get back. I promise that I'm going to pay for this lunch. And yes, I'm going to get this item. It costs more than what I expected, but I promise myself I'll pay it back. How many of us have made those promises? Now, the older you get, the more disciplined you're going to get. Okay? When I purchased my car, my Toyota Corolla Hybrid, this spring of 2024, I purchased it with 6 miles on it. I promised myself I would have it paid off November, December. I'm down to the last $3,000. I am so close. I can see the light at the end of the tunnel, and it's going to be real close. So from 26,000, then minus what I had put in savings, gave it a balance of about another 18,000. So, and then minus that, we are down to the last 3,000. That was a promise I was not going to screw up.
like it was, invisible money. I used to pay off my credit card in full, how I was able to build up such large credit limits, but after a certain time, I wasn't doing that anymore. With the continued bad habits that I had, with spreading myself thin when I really didn't have it, it just wasn't helpful, and it really built up my credit card balances over time. And it happened over years. Like, I haven't used them really in the past few years, but when you're only paying the minimum balance on such a large balance, it doesn't really move. Once I really realized that it is my fault why I have so much credit card debt and that I need to get rid of it in order to find peace and get that money back in my pocket that I've been paying on it every month just to not see the balances go anywhere, I decided to take it seriously.
Yeah, just like we were talking about, those minimum payments, you keep paying and paying and paying, and the balance goes nowhere because you're not getting into the principal. Same thing with student loans. All right. Same thing with student loans. You can pay, and that balance doesn't ever go anywhere. Speaking of pay, I'm going to put up, let me put another time marker. I like to put up videos because this channel's been around, for a good year. I've been doing commentary on this. So I'm going to put up a video that I did. So one is the credit card video, but the other one is a video that I did on why income-based payments, let me put this down, why income-based payments are so incredibly damaging. All right, and I'm going to put that up. I encourage you to watch it, okay, because a lot of students don't understand why income-based payments are so bad, and I fell for it. And guys, I fell for it in my 30s. Getting my second master's degree, and then running up $110,000 worth of student loans that I couldn't pay off until it was forgiven in 2022, after I did 16 years of teaching to get that forgiveness. And that was only forgiven under the public service loan forgiveness waiver that we had recently. So I'm going to put both of those videos at the end. The history of the credit card. Watch that one when you've got a long time to watch it. But it's done pretty well for this little channel. It really has. And then, of course, the income-based payment videos that I've done. I will attach those to the end. But don't be putting money on your credit card for your friends. So oftentimes, I think, and maybe it's the type of family you come from or the type of friends you have. I don't ever expect my friends to go in debt for me, ever. I do not expect my friends to go in debt for me. I don't expect my family to go in debt. Okay. I think oftentimes, and again, I think it just comes perhaps with a little bit of maturity and stuff too. Stop paying for your friends' stuff. I don't even care if they say, well, I'll pay you back. I'll pay you back. Don't do it. Because there is one rule that I have. I don't like, not one rule. There's one thing I don't like. I don't like asking people to pay me back. I just don't. I absolutely, when someone asks, can you put something on the card, I'll pay you back. Here's what I do. And I'm asked so rarely, it's really not an issue because I don't run around with a crowd that would ask me questions like that. But here's my rule. And of course, I do Dave Ramsey commentary. I do a lot of Dave Ramsey commentary videos. And so I kind of hold the same view in this area that Dave Ramsey does. Not in all the areas that Dave Ramsey talks about, but I do hold this view. And that is what he says. If you can't afford, if you can't afford to just give away the money, don't lend it. If I can't just afford to give it to you, I'm not going to lend it. And so it's very easy for her to go, you know what, I'll just throw it on my credit card. And y'all know there's that one sucker at lunch. Okay, everybody in the office goes to lunch and they want one person to put it on the credit card. Well, it's not going to be me. All right? Not going to be. No. And everybody pay me back. No. So here's a response that I have that I recommend if someone says to you, hey, can you just buy this and I'll pay you back? Here's what you tell them with a smile. And you say, you know what? I'm happy to buy it. Go ahead and Cash App or Venmo or whatever me the money, and I'll be happy to go ahead and get it for you. Just make sure make sure that you're not charged a fee so you still don't lose money over it. But just in general. And I actually, I actually had a gal acquaintance ask me that I don't know, maybe within the last year, because I don't really run around with a crowd that would ask me stuff like that. But that's just my response. Hey, you know what? I'm happy to go, you want me to go pick this up for you at the mall because I'm there. It's on sale. Whatever. Okay. Just go ahead and Cash App the money. I'm going to be here for about another 15 minutes. And once I get it, I'm more than happy to go get it for you. Now, here's my rule. If they can't Cash App it to you right then and there, what makes you think they can pay you later? Yeah, that's how I do that. But again, I don't run around with a crowd that does that. But if you do, okay, you might want to reconsider some of those people you running around with. All right. Not saying they're not bad people. There are lots of people who cannot manage money that are fine people. They just can't manage money. Don't intermingle your money with what they can't manage.
And you will now to get incredibly anxious because you realize after staring at your bank account for several hours that you were truly like $8,000 in credit card debt and you're paying your rent in 2 days and then you will have no money in your bank account.
That god-awful clapping noise was from her video, not mine. I just want to state that for the record. I used to, on the night before payday, this is in my early 20s, okay? My spending habits were so bad. Don't ask me why I did this, but I would spend all my money on crap before the paycheck arrived that evening. And I'm not even talking like doing anything useful. It's like, let's go buy some dishes. Let's go buy some cups. It was just garbage. Now, of course, part of it, I had a growing, an unknown, undiagnosed mental health issue that was slowly building. That was contributing to it. But at the time, I did not know that. But that issue aside, okay, my mental health issues aside, I was unaware, okay, that was happening. But just before payday, I would literally go and spend the paycheck. It would be gone. Run to Fred Meyer's, which is kind of like the equivalent of Walmart, okay, because I'm from Oregon. And I actually remember, I would go and I would just spend the whole thing. And of course, this is the time that they took checks. So sometimes it would require me, okay, this is the olden days of checks. I would have to go to the grocery store and write a check for over the amount, just a small amount over. Nothing illegal like the Chase glitch, okay, where everybody was writing themselves 6 figures and hoping they could get away with it. Nothing stupid like that. But it might be, okay, I need an extra $100 and I'd write a check for over the amount. Which cleared my account the next day, all right? But it's just I needed cash right then and there, and my paycheck was already spent before it hit the account. I'm really glad those days are over, family. And if you're struggling through those days, you know what? You'll get to the point where you'll reach debt freedom, but it's a long, hard ride, and a long, hard road. And the earlier you can learn these mistakes, the better off.
You guys have called me a few times and I've let you know that I'm in a debt relief program. So
The screen, and for those who may be listening and can't see the TV, the screen says another credit card trying to collect their piece of my $122,000 debt. I feel like such a loser, but this is my life. I think all of us who have been in serious debt at some point feel like a loser. Assuming we're carrying the debt with a conscience that, we understand we have really messed up our finances. Okay? It really takes your self-esteem down. It really does.
they're going to be reaching out to you and they negotiate with you. I'm not doing anything else. I'm not allowed to do anything else. I'm sorry.
And she may not legally be allowed to do anything else, especially if you're with a court or you have an attorney. That can really mess up a case. So if you have representation, whether it be through a reputable, debt collector, a bankruptcy court, your attorney, whatever, when they tell you don't talk to the creditors, hang up the phone, you got to follow those rules or you could put your bankruptcy or debt relief program in jeopardy.
Hi, Khadijah. Your question reads, how did you get into so much debt, though? And the very short answer is lifestyle creep and emotional spending. The detailed version behind that is I went into private practice. I started making six figures. And as I started making more money, I started spending more money. And then something happened in 2023. It was very emotional. And I just went on an emotional spending spree. I took trips. I bought a new car. That's the bulk of the bulk of my debt is student loans. So also my degree. But then in 2023 alone, I think I racked up $80,000 worth of debt from emotional and impulsive spending and lifestyle creep. So that's it. I went out and bought a new car. We took a trip to Hawaii. We took another trip to Texas. I think we took 3 trips in 2023. The big one being Hawaii. We flew first class from Hawaii back home. And that was it. My business was it had grossed over 6 figures. And so I was balling out of control and now I'm paying for it. So, but the bulk of my debt, now my debt does include my mortgage, which was sitting at maybe $80-some thousand when we first started. It's currently sitting at 74. Then I added a brand new 2023 Honda, which I didn't really negotiate well. I was just like, oh, I'm approved. Okay. And then we racked up credit card debt, living beyond our means and balling out of control.
I know that when I got divorced 10 years ago, when my ex-husband left, one of the things that I absolutely was determined as I tried to get myself back on my feet, and I did, I was absolutely determined to not allow lifestyle creep to come into my living space. And I have to believe I would not have achieved debt freedom without it, without that. When my car is paid off, I'm on the last $3,000, and it should be paid off by Christmas. It's gonna, like I said, it's going to be real nip and tuck. My entire cost of living after that is about $1,700 a month, and I did a breakdown on it. It was early this summer. My entire cost of living, this includes $450, so HOA, everything, $500 for food, is between $1,700 to $1,800 a month. And I only credit that because I was absolutely determined that when I got divorced, and we had struggled so much financially during the divorce, and I didn't get anything during the divorce, but a really old 10-year not beat up, but it was an SUV that needed a ton of work, and the SUV was so bad. Was the Lincoln Mountaineer. They don't even make it anymore. That's how much of a piece of crap that vehicle was. But that was all I got, a 10-year-old vehicle. The rest of it was on my own. So I can't sit and say, oh yes, and I had all this extra money, but even when my parents left me a little bit of money so I could get the condo, I chose to only get a $100,000 condo because I really had a choice. I could either pay off the $100,000 student loan or I could get myself a condo. But I knew that student loan forgiveness was going to be coming. And so I chose to put my money that my late parents left me towards the condo. but, and well, it was a nice little chunk of change, okay? It could not be wasted. It wasn't enough to go, yep, and I'm going to go take a few trips to Europe and all of that stuff. No, it had to be very, very tightly managed. It was kind of like a one-time shot that I could not afford to screw up. And lifestyle creep was something I just was determined. Oh, by the way, speaking of life, this is fake fur. Okay, fake fur from what store is it? White House Black Market that I got on sale for 80% off. All right, there you go. I think I paid $20 for this. But I mean, but lifestyle creep, people buy things that are nicer and nicer and nicer, and they go up and up. And I credit two things that I purchased that really, really helped me a lot. One was buying this little condo, 840 square feet, okay? And again, I understand that I bought in 2020, because by 2022, 2023, it's going for about 175 to 200,000. It's just insane, in my opinion, for 840 square feet. But I'd say in today's market, it's probably sitting around 175,000, all right? But not buying too much housing. The second was making sure that when I decided to stop leasing a car, because I decided I was ready to take the financial plunge and commit to a car, all right, that I was going to have to buy a car that was also really modest. So I settled on a Toyota Corolla. I really, really think if you're going to avoid lifestyle creep, all right, you've got to make sure that your housing and your vehicle are way under budget, and they are. So this now, 10 years after being divorced, allows me to live on about 45% of my income. And of course, a huge chunk will go into retirement starting in 2025, because I'm behind on that, because I really have nothing in retirement as far as cash. Fortunately, I'll have my teacher's pension, which is awesome, because I've been teaching for 19 years. But I also want a few $100,000 in a savings account to put into an annuity. So, but I could not do that if I was going to be living my 50s, Viva Loco or whatever it is, okay, living it up. Okay, so I had to really take myself down, because I feel like I got kind of a late start. But fortunately, everything will still be okay, knock on wood. Health and all of that stuff. Okay, I had to put in my own music for copyright purposes. All right, she says on here, this young lady says, today I found out I have $112,000 in debt. I wonder what she means by today I found out. I always assume you'd kind of know. Maybe it's just today she really sat down and looked at it, okay? She says, how did I get myself in financially so deep? I stopped getting manis and petties, hair touch-ups, anything personal months ago. I literally only buy groceries, gas, and necessities for my son. Other options other than bankruptcy. All right, to this young lady, because she doesn't say anything in the video, okay? How did you get yourself in so deep? Because it takes sometimes months and even years to find out that we are financially out of control. And I want you to keep in mind, family, it also can take months and years to get the control back. Yes, years. I know, and this is one little area I have a little beef with Dave Ramsey. Okay, and I do a lot. I think I've done probably, I do a Dave Ramsey commentary at least once a week, sometimes twice. Okay, even more when I'm on break like I am now. But that's how you find yourself in it. It takes a long time, and it takes equally long to get out of debt, and it's 3 times the pain, because getting out of debt isn't fun. She says here she stopped getting manis and petties, hair touch-ups, anything personal. I'm 57. I can count on less than one hand how many manis and petties I've ever done in my whole life. I know I have an acquaintance who does it. Okay, she gets her manis and petties all the time, and she is flat broke. Just trust me on this. She's broke. She makes probably a little less, maybe a little bit more than half my income, if that much. Okay, because I gross about 63. I think she probably makes around the 30s, maybe 35. Okay, and she gets manis and petties, goes to the expensive hair salons. She's broke, owns nothing. She never watches this channel. Okay, but yeah, these manis and petties and hair touch-ups. I go to the student salon for my hair. And by the way, because women ask me, I get stopped regularly by women who want to know how to get my hair color. This hair color is all natural. This is 100% all, it's all my hair. Okay, I do relax it, but the color is all natural, and I absolutely love the color. I just love it. I love having salt and pepper hair. But that's how she got into it. You know, I get my hair done at the student salon for $65, and that includes the $10 tip. Or I could go to a fancy salon and have it relaxed for $150 because they serve me a glass of lemon water with ice cubes in it. She also has a son. Okay, not again, if you can afford it, great. But when you can't afford it and you have a child, you can't be doing things like your manis and your pedis and your hair touch-ups. You just don't. And you know, I'll tell you, when I was in my broke days, when I was married and broke, because trust me, we were broke, I actually would relax my own hair. I did a crappy job at it, but at least I did it. Okay, I mean, it was like, you know, I could do it out of a box for $10. I'm glad those days are behind me and I won't do that anymore, hopefully. But guess what? If it absolutely had to, and I actually had to return to it, yeah, I'd do it. Been there, done that, can go back if I have to, but I'm going to do everything I can to make sure I don't ever have to. Okay? So, and she's got a child, and you only buy gas and necessities. Guess what? That's probably what most of us are doing right now. Most of us are probably only buying gas and necessities. I usually plan a trip to Oregon once during the year. That's usually my big trip, and I don't even really call that vacation. I mean, I love you, Mom and Dad, okay? But I don't call it vacation. It's not going on a cruise. It's not going on a trip. You know, that's someplace, you know, really exciting and fun. I mean, you're going home, you're paying your respects to your parents and all that, but come on, parents. You got to agree with me, okay? I mean, your kids probably don't come home to you thinking, oh my gosh, this is vacation. It's just a thought, all right? But yeah, I think when she says, I only buy groceries, gas, and necessities for my son, I only buy groceries, gas, and necessities for myself, and I don't even have children. So she's not alone, and you're not alone. Okay, she says here on the screen, she says, because she doesn't talk, she says, when I spent so much time to get my client to over 700 credit score with 87 deletions, they deleted 87 things off her credit report and got her client's credit score to up over 700. And then the credit score plummeted down to 400 because the client had 2 missed late payments. Something I tell my students as a middle school teacher is I tell my students, you know, you have to want the grade. You have to want the success more than I want you to have it. Okay, I can guide you, I can show you, okay, but you have to want it so much more than what I want. It's the same thing with money, family. You as the person that has the debt, you have to want to clear that debt more than I want to have you clear it. I can sit here and I can create a YouTube channel. I can share with you my experiences. I can tell you what I did wrong, how foolish I felt. I can give you tips. I hope I give tips on how to get out of it. Okay? But ultimately, you have to want it more. And here's the screenshot. 87 items deleted. And there's credit score from 700 to 448. Always remember, it's not about getting out of debt. It's not about clearing the credit report. It's not even about raising the credit score. Okay? Because your credit score ebbs and tides with life. It's about permanent control of your finances and keeping it there. That's what it's about.
I'm just sitting here, really.
Okay, before we go, I actually wrote this lady today, okay, because it's Tuesday, the week of Thanksgiving. I wrote her. I just absolutely loved this video.
Trying to wrap my head around the fact that I am about $100,000 in debt. I think maybe $30,000 of that is credit card or consumer debt. $40,000 of that is student loans. $15,000 in taxes. Also I owe about $35,000 on my car. So that is over $100,000. And I'm just like, trying to, like, because I turned 30 in less than 90 days, I was trying to think about, like, who do I want to be? Who do I want to be in this next decade? Who do I want to be in this next 10 years of my life? Who do I want to be right now? Who is the woman that I'm growing up and growing to become? And it's not a woman in debt. Like, it's not a woman that's bad with money or financially illiterate or that makes bad financial decisions. And I'm just like, damn, I got to spend the first few years of my 30s digging myself out of this hole. And it's not a good feeling. But also, it's like, you know, it's so normalized. Like, everybody has debt. But you got to change your mindset because everybody doesn't have debt. I don't want to be one of the ones with debt. The first step is to accept it. And I'm trying. I really am trying to accept that. Trying to come to terms with that. How does that happen?
Okay, I wanted to answer this question about how I got into 15.
I'll tell you. How does it happen? Well, she just told it how it happens. Come to terms with the debt. And from there, it's one step at a time. Family, I want to thank you for joining me this Tuesday. I'm trying to give you extra uploads during this week while I'm on break. I hope you will consider subscribing. I would appreciate that so much. People, my time is up. And so is yours. Happy Tuesday, everyone. Goodbye.